I, 34F, never thought I'd be the one causing family drama, but here we are. My brother Jake, 37M, married Melissa, 32F, 3 years ago after a whirlwind romance. From the beginning, something about her rubbed me the wrong way. She was overly sweet to Jake and my parents, but when they weren't around, she'd make subtle digs at me or completely ignore me. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she was insecure? Maybe she felt intimidated because Jake and I have always been close. Whatever the reason, I kept my distance and remained civil for my brother's sake. Jake seemed happy, and that's what mattered most to me. Everything changed at my parents' 40th anniversary party last month. I'd been going through a rough patch after breaking up with my boyfriend of 5 years. It wasn't a secret that I was struggling, but I was trying to keep it together for my parents' special day. During the party, I overheard Melissa telling her friends that I was pathetically heartbroken and that my ex probably left because I was too clingy and desperate. I was hurt, but decided not to cause a scene at my parents' celebration. I quietly walked away, hoping no one noticed my tears. Later that evening, I was helping my mom in the kitchen when Melissa approached me with a glass of what she claimed was sparkling water. "You look like you could use this," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I thanked her and took a sip, only to immediately spit it out. It was straight vodka, and everyone in the kitchen burst into laughter as I coughed and sputtered. "Oh my God, your face!" Melissa howled. "I thought you could use something stronger than water." "Lighten up." My mother looked uncomfortable, but didn't say anything. Jake wasn't in the room, and Melissa knew it. I was humiliated and angry, but again, I didn't want to ruin my parents' anniversary. I excused myself and spent the rest of the evening avoiding Melissa. The next day, I received a text from an unknown number. It was a woman named Qley who claimed to have been engaged to Jake 5 years ago. According to her, Jake had broken off their engagement after meeting Melissa at a work conference. Qley had recently discovered my contact info through mutual friends and wanted to warn me about Melissa. I was skeptical at first, but Qley sent me photos of her and Jake together, along with screenshots of messages between her and Melissa. The messages revealed that Melissa had deliberately pursued Jake despite knowing he was engaged, and had even bragged about stealing him from Qley. I was shocked. Jake had never mentioned being engaged before Melissa. As far as our family knew, he'd been single for years before meeting her. I decided to do some digging and reached out to Jake's old friends who confirmed Qley's story. Not only had Jake been engaged, but Melissa had systematically worked to break them up. The revelation about Melissa weighed heavily on me for weeks. Should I tell Jake? Would he even believe me? I was torn between protecting my brother and respecting his marriage. Maybe he already knew about Qley and had chosen to move on. Maybe there was more to the story than I understood. I decided to have coffee with Qley to hear her full story. We met at a quiet cafe across town, far from any places Jake or Melissa might frequent. In person, Qley seemed genuine, hurt, but not vindictive. She explained that she and Jake had been together for 4 years and were 3 months away from their wedding when he suddenly broke things off. He said he'd met someone else and couldn't go through with the wedding, Qley explained, her eyes welling with tears. I was blindsided. We'd just sent out our invitations. According to Qley, Melissa had been relentless in pursuing Jake, sending him flirtatious messages, engineering accidental meetings, and gradually convincing him that their connection was something special. Jake had never cheated physically, but the emotional affair had been enough to destroy his relationship with Qley. The worst part, Qley said, was when Melissa messaged me after they got engaged. She sent me their engagement photo with the caption, "Thanks for breaking so easily. He needed a real woman." I felt sick. This matched the Melissa I knew, sweet on the surface but cruel underneath. Still, I needed more proof before approaching Jake. I thanked Qley and promised to stay in touch. The following weekend, I visited my parents and casually brought up Jake's dating history. My mother, always the keeper of family stories, mentioned that Jake had been seriously involved with someone before Melissa, but didn't elaborate. When I pressed for details, she became uncomfortable and changed the subject. My father, however, later pulled me aside. "Your mother doesn't like to talk about Qley," he whispered. "We were all shocked when Jake called off the wedding. Your mother had already bought her outfit and everything." "Wait, you knew about the engagement?" I asked, stunned. "Of course we knew. We were supposed to go to their wedding. But Jake made us promise never to mention it, especially around Melissa. He said it would cause unnecessary tension." I was floored. My parents had known all along, but kept this secret from me. What's more, Melissa had somehow convinced Jake to erase his past relationship from family conversations. 2 days later, Melissa's cruelty reached a new level. She sent me a package containing my ex-boyfriend's sweatshirt that I'd been looking for since our breakup, along with photos of them having lunch together. The attached note read, "Found this at our place after your ex stopped by. Thought you might want it back. He says hi, winking face." I called my ex immediately, who confessed that Melissa had reached out to him claiming I was obsessed and spreading rumors about him. She'd invited him to lunch to clear the air. He'd gone out of curiosity and left feeling manipulated. That was the final straw. Melissa wasn't just mean, she was actively trying to hurt me. And if she'd lied about Courtney and manipulated my ex, what else was she capable of? I had to tell Jake the truth, regardless of the consequences. I invited Jake to lunch, choosing a quiet restaurant where we could talk privately. He seemed happy to see me, completely unaware of the bomb I was about to drop. We made small talk about work and our parents until our food arrived. Then, taking a deep breath, I began. Jake, there's something I need to tell you about Melissa. His smile immediately faded. I recently met Courtney. The color drained from his face. How do you know about Courtney? I explained everything, from Courtney reaching out to my conversations with our parents and Jake's old friends. I showed him the screenshots Courtney had sent me and told him about Melissa's latest stunt with my ex. Throughout my explanation, Jake remained silent, his food untouched. I know this is difficult to hear, I said, but I couldn't keep it from you. Melissa isn't who you think she is. Jake was quiet for a long moment before speaking. I know. You know? I echoed, confused. Not everything, but enough. He sighed heavily. I knew she pursued me aggressively when I was with Courtney. I convinced myself it was just strong chemistry, that we couldn't help falling for each other. I told myself Courtney, and I weren't right anyway. His voice cracked as he continued. But over the past year, I've seen glimpses of who Melissa really is. The way she treats waitstaff when she thinks I'm not looking. How she talks about her friends behind their backs. Small lies that keep adding up. He looked at me with tear-filled eyes. And how she treats you. I've noticed, even though I didn't want to admit it. I was stunned. Why haven't you said anything? Pride, I guess. I didn't want to admit I made such a huge mistake. And honestly, I was afraid of what would happen if I confronted her. He shook his head. I didn't know about this thing with your ex, though. That's a new low. We talked for hours. Jake revealed that he and Melissa had been having problems for months, culminating in him discovering she'd been texting an old flame. When confronted, she'd turned it around on him, accusing him of not trusting her and making him feel guilty for suspecting her. I think I've been waiting for permission to leave, he admitted. This might be it. 2 weeks later, Jake moved out of their house and filed for divorce. Melissa was furious. She called me, screaming that I'd ruined her life and threatened to make me pay. Then she took to social media, posting that I was a jealous, bitter woman who couldn't stand to see others happy. My parents were initially upset about the divorce, but changed their tune when Jake finally told them everything. Old friends reached out to Jake, sharing similar stories about Melissa's manipulative behavior that they'd been afraid to mention before. As for me, I felt guilty for being the catalyst that ended their marriage, but Jake assured me I'd done him a favor. Better 3 years wasted than a lifetime, he said. 6 months later, he's happier than I've seen him in years. He's even tentatively reconnected with Courtney, though they're taking things extremely slowly. Last week, I ran into Melissa at the grocery store. She looked tired and tried to ignore me, but as I passed her, she hissed, "Happy now?" I stopped and looked her directly in the eyes. Yes, actually. My brother deserves better than someone who builds relationships by destroying others. It wasn't my proudest moment, but it felt good to finally stand up to her. Sometimes family drama is necessary when it means protecting the people you love from those who would hurt them. Jake is coming over for dinner tonight. He's bringing Courtney. And for the first time in years, I feel like I have my brother back.